driving business.
Good morning, it's 7 a.m. This is Godwin Batuma for the Smart 24 Business, which is Smart Means Business today. I hope you're all well. I hope you've all arrived very well where you're all going. It's a clear road, so please get to work. Today we have a lot of topics that we are discussing, and the number one is the Uganda trade and the Uganda summit that happened between Uganda and South Africa. A lot has happened in business, so we have to discuss. So we're looking here at investment and trade between Uganda and South Africa. Some of the things that we're going to really tackle today as we go on to the hour. So we need to talk about a few things today. So South Africa is one of the fastest growing sources of foreign direct investment for Uganda. These are some of the few things that we are going to talk about today. But first we're going to go into Zabu and Zabu ad today.
From anywhere in Uganda via USSD. Step 1. To buy, dial star 292 hash. Step 2. Select buy. Step 3. Select the product you would like to buy. For example, bonds. Step 4. Select your preferred maturity year. Step 5. Select the bond you would like to buy. Step 6. Input an amount of 15,000 Ugandan shillings or more. Step 7. Your order has been forwarded for processing. And finally, Step 8. Your order has been confirmed.
As just we're getting into the idea of Uganda and South Africa and the trade that's been happening between Uganda and South Africa. And also a huge topic of contention is the huge stringent measures that are happening with the visas between Uganda and between South Africa and international people coming into the country. There's been blockages, over 70,000 blockages on the visas for people coming into South Africa. So there's a lot in regards to business that we're going to talk about today, Mercy.
Yes, good morning Uganda, good morning East Africa and the entire globe. Of course, today is Wednesday and we are mid the week. And of course, I'm talking about South Africa and how their processes actually for the first timers, it's really going to hinder businesses. A lot of people who do trade within South Africa, they're going to be hindered. Just imagine you're a first timer and you're taking months delays in processing it. You're just going to do anyway. We are yet to know actually the actual cause of this. They could be actually maybe skeptical about the security. Right. It's a lot going on. Every country is trying to be secure.
Yeah, so there's huge conversations surrounding why is South Africa being so stringent regarding their visa laws and visa policies, isn't it? So we're finding that since last year to this year, there's over 10,000 people that increase in terms of the blockages. There were 60,000 people last year that are still on backlog regarding getting their visas. Now we have over 70,000 people that are yet to get their visas. So it's even harder for first timers. So if you're a first time applicant to South Africa, we're finding that it's quite tricky to be able to get your visa. So a lot of this is being discussed and we're trying to see how is this mostly going to affect business? How is this going to affect any of the experts trying to invest within South Africa? How is that going to be?
Of course, with investment, it's going to deter people, foreign investors, from coming within the country now because, the process is too long and of course there is scrutiny. People are being squeezed. They ask you questions here and there, and of course for those that are going to be working there, I don't think it's going to be easier for them. Maybe they're trying to trying to revamp their economies, or and maybe have their citizens have first priority. Because I mean, if the number of unemployed youth is high in a country, why would you want to have more coming in to work?
Right, and it's said a lot of this rejection is happening because of unscrupulous or because of unlawful activity. So you could find a lot of people probably where security purposes, people are going in for fraudulent behavior. Yeah. So you're finding that they have to be more careful.
It's all about what I think it's really about security. I mean, who would want to actually be in because I mean, people come for different reasons. You may come for a work permit, a work visa, but then you have your own intentions. You're smuggling, you're into money laundering. So what does it leave for the country, for South Africa?
Exactly. And in regard to that, regarding the visa, we're talking about the trade relations inside Uganda and South Africa. We're seeing that investment and trade between Uganda and South Africa. Uganda's exports to South Africa include cotton, so far gold, fish, fillets, tobacco, coffee, and fresh flowers. South Africa's exports to Uganda include machinery, vehicles, plastics, chemicals, electronic parts. So you're finding that South Africa's investment in Uganda in the sectors like telecommunications, breweries, finance, poultry, energy, and real estate, amongst others. So we saw that Mr. Museveni, obviously our president, was able to meet with a South African committee and talk about the different trade options that we could have. And we're slated to have this option move up over 77 billion worth of exports from Uganda to South Africa, some of which include ammonia, fertilizers, and the like.
I'm seeing something here in a certain report and saying some German companies have decided to sell their South African subsidiaries since they cannot execute work permits. Now, and despite the absence of skilled workers, technicians cannot get work visas, contributing to the construction and maintenance problems at the country's electricity and transport parastatals, Eskom, and of course Transnet. Of course, the Japanese companies actually those that have been helping out when it comes to the electricity, machinery, and of course electricity happening, the blackouts that happen, trying to fix, and of course them having some of them having been denied work visas. That means there is going to be an issue with these blackouts that are happening within South Africa.
I know it's going to be a huge problem, isn't it? So lots of internationals coming
investors are now pulling back.
Entrepreneurs, investors, especially considering that the stage 6 blackouts that are happening in South Africa. You're struggling with electricity. I don't know if that's a political or if it's an infrastructure issue that's happening within South Africa. But you're finding that with all the trade relations that are happening between Uganda and South Africa, there's a lot that has to be discussed regarding this issue, right? So there's so many of us who now have to resort to working remotely if we have to work in South Africa, because getting a visa is tough.
Yeah, so that means you have to work online. You could apply online and start working online. It could be another alternative. But then there are times where you need to go on ground and see what is really happening in the other country. If you're into business, if you're into trade, you have to go and source out for the good products yourself and come up with what is best for your country.
Exactly.
So definitely I feel like it's going to really cripple also maybe the economy of South Africa, because they're going to be losing out on foreigners and of course people who do trade within the country.
Exactly. And as we know, what's the trade between Uganda and South Africa since 2021? Uganda had a large net trade with South Africa in the exports of vegetable products of $8.77 million, chemical products worth $7.68 million, and foodstuffs worth $809,000. During 2021, South Africa had a large net trade with Uganda in exports of transportation of $35.5 million, chemical products $29.6 million, and machines at $19.2 million. And we know that the Minister of Trade had come out and said that largely the exports to South Africa has basically been a value of $20 million, whilst the imports from Uganda, South Africa has been over $100 million, Mercy. So we've basically been spending a lot of money importing different goods from South Africa.
That's something. You know, the funny thing is that we are importing more than we export. It's quite worrying.
It is.
But anyway, with this previous summit that happened, something could be improved. You know, we have to exchange so that we could be on a balanced level right there. And of course, still here, one of the 22 critical skills visa requirements is that the employer must prove that no citizen or permanent resident with the required qualifications, skills and experience is domestically available. Now, the high cost of advertising and other requirements makes this an expensive exercise. Now, of course, all this is securing an application appointment can take up to 3 months. Imagine that.
Can you imagine that? That's crazy.
3 months, that's crazy.
So the backlog between Uganda and South Africa is going to deter a lot of people who are trying to apply.
3 months just waiting for...
I mean, just the laborious process of
application.
waiting, of getting your passport from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and then all of a sudden waiting for your visa for over 3 to 6 months.
And you just imagine you were, you know, going like the next week. I don't think you'd actually go.
You wouldn't, especially if you had business or you've had investment in South Africa that was very urgent. You would have to delay. That's going to be a very big
really
problem, especially
3 months
considering
is a long time.
the conversation surrounding trade between Uganda and South Africa.
But anyway, I think that was cleared maybe during the summit because they talked about something regarding visas, and I feel for Uganda maybe it could be a safer space for us compared to other countries. Those that are planning to go to South Africa, you have to be really, you know, you have to know what you want first of all, what you're going to do, because I mean there is these things of people pretending no. You have to be under scrutiny. They have to investigate you. They have to do thorough investigation. I think that is for you to get a work visa. They have to thoroughly investigate and know what you're going to do is credible.
And what do you think the problem could be? Why are they so stringent now regarding this visa issue? Do you think it's because of a lot of the fraudulent behavior that's been happening between Uganda and South Africa, or is it the xenophobia within the country as well that has been happening in the past? Because we know a lot of statements have been made. They're saying, but you know, a lot of this brain drain that's happening. What about us? What about we're only bringing in resources from outside of the country, mental resources from outside of the country? What about our people? Are we developing as a country? So I wonder if that's a measure to try and bolster the production within the country itself.
I feel like maybe the reason as to why they're doing all this is for security purposes, really. The fact that there was a list of, I don't think South Africa is in the grey list, you know, they're trying to secure themselves because people come with really funny reasons. Right. And their intention is not to work, or maybe they're not skilled enough. Yes. By the way, South Africa is one of the countries that needs, when it comes to skilling, they're really so crucial about it. Yes. You cannot just come haphazardly and expect yourself to work, really. You have to have a skill.
But also, historically, we have a lot of Ugandans that have moved to South Africa, working within South Africa, isn't it?
It depends on what they do. What do they actually do?
There's a lot of them working there. So there's a lot of labor that's coming from Uganda to South Africa over the years. So it's going to be tough. I wonder for those that are first-time applicants, especially this measure for first-time applicants.
Imagine 3 months. Imagine waiting for all those 3 months.
So you've gotten a job, because I know a friend that's working in South Africa, but remotely. He's working from Uganda, but working in South Africa. So you might have to resort to other options or other alternatives to be able to work within South Africa.
Well, of course, even here it says even short-term visitor or business visitors are a problem. African and international organization work with now refrain from hosting events or meeting in South Africa, meaning the country loses revenue from lucrative events and conference business. Interesting. That is a valid reason.
Yes,
they're losing out. Money, yes. They're losing out on potential investors. Yes. They're losing out on revenue. Anyway, maybe it could be a strategy.
That's a huge loss for the country, but I guess they're trying to be as protective. But now, as we go back to the idea of the relations in terms of trade within Uganda and South Africa, and it's a huge conversation to be had, because in the past we've been exporting a few different things between Uganda and South Africa, isn't it? We see here that from what's Uganda's import from South Africa? We've imported over $58.4 million worth of pearls, precious stones, metals, coins, and iron and steel. We also have vehicles other than railway. We have minerals, fuel, oils, distillation products.
Wow.
These are all the things that we have been importing from South Africa.
Those are things we do not have, apparently.
So now one of the conversations that President Museveni was able to have within the South African community is how can we be able to balance out that number? Because we've been importing $100 million worth of goods from South Africa whilst exporting $20 million worth of goods to South Africa. So this new move of having to be able to export ammonia, fertilizers and the like is going to be able to balance out that number just a little bit. I think that's a good move between Uganda and South Africa regarding trade relations.
Yes, of course, that is it. And of course, our conversations regarding the trade relations between South Africa and, of course, Uganda will still continue. And, of course, those that have been actually working in South Africa or hoping to go to South Africa, things are going to be quite so hard. So definitely you will take a month or 2 or 3, really, so that you are validated, you are really worthy of going into South Africa. But for the foreign investors right there, may be a little bit problematic for you.
Exactly.
You know. So anyway, let's get into the press review and look at what is happening in the business world. Well, Uganda never ceases to amuse me actually, not even amaze me, amuse me. Now, Minister MPs wanted over 150 billion scandal. Away from the Mabati that were happening, now we're having another yet scandal. This is another form of corruption that has happened actually after, wow, I don't know really. I don't know how this billions of money just disappear all of us.
It is crazy how a lot of these funds are moving away unaccounted for, and it's being allocated all over the place. It's something that we have to be able to look into.
Now, this is fresh details emerge in cooperative cash saga. These are relating to SACCOs and maybe these cooperatives. Wow. 150 billion Ugandan shillings. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money that's going. And we're looking here at the Daily Monitor. We have new cement factory opened in Karamoja. This is a huge move for Karamoja. I mean, we've always known Karamoja for having those semblances of gold. So it's good to see that there's a cement factory that's opening up and there's business. That means there's job creation and job opportunities that's going to happen for people in Karamoja. So that's amazing news. There's going to be more hires for people within Karamoja, isn't it?
And of course, regarding, I'm going to really focus on this story about the 150 billion because it has caught my attention. I need to let you know what is really happening so that we can be on the same page. Now, following the arrest of the Trade Ministry Commissioner last week, security personnel have landed on more information. That means it has been a follow-up regarding allegations of mismanagement of 150 billion compensation fund for cooperatives. Now, a joint team from the State House Anti-Corruption Unit and of course the internal security organization backed by police last Wednesday arrested Robert Barije, the Commissioner of Cooperatives and Development at the Trade Ministry over this cash. So this cash was supposed to be a compensation fund for cooperatives, but now it's missing. So what does that mean for cooperatives? They're waiting for the money is not coming yet. We're having, the corporates are here.
This business of hoarding money.
They demand justice.
One place.
There has to be justice.
It's horrible.
And you know, for these cooperatives, people are really waiting for money. People are really waiting for loans. So imagine you've been in the on the line waiting for a loan and the money is not really coming. It's so devastating for someone out there. But it's good the fact that, you know, these people, they know people responsible. So there's going to be scrutiny, they're going to be investigated, and we want to know where did that money go. We'll have to have accountability.
Right. And yes, and that's interesting, isn't it? And back to the Karamoja story, we see Karamoja cement factory to save Uganda shillings 1.4 trillion. Uganda shillings. Can you imagine? So we see the factory will produce 6,000 tons of clinker and cement per day, according to the investor. So it's a huge investor that's coming in for the cement factory in Karamoja. This is a huge conversation around that, isn't it?
Now, of course, the thriving dairy sector, easiest way to fight poverty. That is according to experts. For those that are into dairy produce products, and that could be a way of fighting. People in the villages, mostly Western Uganda, do have cows, but they do it, for domestic use. You know, they're not using them for commercial purposes. They do not know you can take milk to the dairy and get money. They're not aware. They only milk their cup of tea, and that's it.
And it's crazy how the prices of milk
they're high now. A liter is at 2,200.
Yes, and half a liter of Jessa milk is about 1,800 depending on where you're from, and 2,000 in some places. And you know how Uganda works. It's just a stone throw away, and the other shop is 2,000, and the other shop is 1,800 shillings. For
processed milk, I would be really
for processed milk,
I would be like, oh, maybe it could have been due to the taxes imposed on them, but then fresh milk, fresh from the cow, really?
It's a lot. And we're also seeing in other stories with the national news, we're seeing the anti-gay law, US firms stop Uganda imports. So we're seeing that the British colonial masters were the first to codify the offense of homosexuality and natural sex in Uganda, enacted a specific law to deal with it in 2013. So we're seeing the US Embassy in Uganda says Washington had made it clear that the enactment of the anti-gay law would affect Uganda's economic prospects. So we're seeing that a lot of economic damage is going to happen in regards to this anti-gay law to the country.
This is really affecting. We didn't know it was that serious, but oh my goodness. But anyway, we shall find ways of, still in the Iron Sheet scandal, police denies torturing MP Chitutu. So that and more if you get yourself a copy of the New Vision. And of course, her arrest of Bunibuji health workers draws mixed reaction. And of course, very many interesting stories right there regarding business. And of course, a bank not entitled to make deductions from PDM recipients. Yeah, this is really key.
Not entitled.
Entitled, no entitlement. Now, into this report, the Minister of Information and Communication, Technology and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Badiomonsi, has said banks and mobile money agents are not entitled to make any deductions from the money of beneficiaries of the PDM, the development money. Imagine you are expecting 1 million. The bank has deducted like 200K. What are you going to stay with? Mobile money has deducted its fee.
There are so many charges that are increasing in every single sector. Right?
For mobile money, actually, when you're going to actually get money, they tell you, it's really a lot that they really remove.
Yes, it's a lot of money that's been taken. And we're also seeing here in the national news how Uganda was reborn as a land of walkers and runners. Someone says here that Ugandans, many losing hope, scrambled to find new forms of safe social engagement and conversation transcending.
And of course, looking at the international point of it, Morocco quick and bearable pains of lost tears at the village. Oh, if you could look at the damage made due to this earthquake, you would really get to think that we are actually need climate change resolutions. We need to go back to the drawing board and look for ways on how, I don't know if this is, it all evolves around climate. Even the earth shaking and all that, there has to be something that has led to the shaking of the
and we talked about the idea of insurance in terms of climate insurance yesterday. How is that viable, and is it important for different countries, for different governments, and for the people that own businesses within those countries? Climate insurance, because you're accounting for unexpected change, unexpected risk that could come with regards to what's happening in the change in weather, in the change in climate. We just saw the floods that are happening in Libya. I think it was Libya yesterday.
Yes, Libya yesterday.
And a lot of businesses were affected. So how are we able to curb and protect ourselves in the future in terms of risk regarding climate change. And it's such a sad thing that's happening in Morocco, but of course we talk about the insurance claims that are also ongoing.
Well, for those that are into cybersecurity, there was a discussion regarding the challenges that first regards to cybersecurity. And of course, cybersecurity is a practice of protecting critical systems and of course sensitive information from digital attacks. Now, also known as information technology security, cybersecurity measures are designed to combat threats against networked systems and applications, whether those threats originate from inside or outside an organization. Now, cybersecurity is often mistakenly perceived as a concern exclusive to large corporations. However, it is essential for individuals as well. You know, you can be hacked as an individual. You can be there, you know, you're a secretary somewhere, and of course, all the emails come to you. So there is a possibility someone may hack into those emails. Don't may send a message to your boss.
I know, it's a very, very scary thought, the idea of being hacked.
Oh my God, so you have to be cautious individually. It doesn't mean organizations. You could be having your own secrets. That's why people's things leak and you're like, how did this happen?
And we're talking about cybersecurity. Yesterday we talked about cyber insurance as well.
Yeah.
Why many companies, especially working in the IT department,
Yes, have
insurance
to
in case of
do.
cyber hacks, data attacks. What that cyber insurance allows in case of the remediations, right? Like what's it called? Being able to investigate the crime, being able to pay back the people in case you're holding people's money. So the idea of cybersecurity is huge right now.
Actually,
and the idea of cyber insurance as well.
A lot actually on like social media. Most people's accounts have been hacked. Twitter, Instagram, mostly if you have many followers. So definitely you have to keep a keen eye individually. Okay, log out. Once you're done with your email, sending to someone, log out.
Always log out.
Always log out.
Yes.
It's really
you can't be laissez-faire with the internet.
I have had issues with people not logging out, but then I have to say, people, please log out. Really key and important if for an individual or for an organization. Anyway, that is what we had for the press review. And of course, if you really are interested in any of these stories, you can grab yourself a New Vision or the Daily Monitor and get the full detail of what is happening in there. And of course, it is 28 minutes past 7 a.m. and of course, I'm hoping you're already on your way to work. People, wake up, get yourself up. Even if you're going to spend the day at home, please just wake up and be productive. Do something to make you productive in the morning. It's very key. And of course, don't forget the markets on Zabu are available. And of course, you can reach out to them if you dial *209# and for the prompts. So with Zabu, you can invest in government bonds and securities as low as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. So Monday to Friday, those are their working days, except for public holidays. And of course, weekends. Do not bother to reach out to them because I don't think they're going to help you. So definitely they are powered by Alltex Africa and they tell you to do something new 2023. So anytime, any minute from now, 8:15 a.m. to 3:50 p.m. those are their working hours. So when it clocks 8:15 a.m. you should be open to do a market and of course invest in government bonds and securities. Zabu says my money, my future, and Notice East Africa says do something new. Having said, we shall go for a short breather and we shall be back with East Africa on international news.